Well, hi, thanks so much for joining me in my shop here on April 19th. Believe it or not, snow on the ground this morning. What? It was like summer here just a couple days ago. There's snow on the ground. Angry cats in the house. Actually, they're not angry. They're disappointed. They're confused. So am I. I'm confused. I'm confused about this radio. So I ended the last video making a change of a capacitor location here. I've kind of accepted that along the way while working on this radio numerous times in the past, even when I was quite young. I never understood how this switch was laid out. And studying the schematic and looking at that switch, massive confusion, changes I made to it. There's probably more mistakes in there. And of all the things I do when I work on these old radios, fooling around with these switches is right at the bottom of the list of things I like to do. These switches, I find them very upsetting. Very upsetting. Not in all cases. This one in particular. So, what to do? What are my options? My options are experiment some more with this radio. There's a couple other very simple things that I can do. And head towards making the volume control work like any other volume control in any other radio. That's a risky venture, I think. You know, I don't know how much effect the negative feedback is having in this radio. Negative feedback reduces harmonic distortion. And obviously, if it's manipulated, it can affect the tone quality of the radio too. So the last thing I did was I disconnected the feedback. As far as I know, there is no feedback signal from the speaker circuit coming back in the radio when this wire disconnected. And yet things continue to operate pretty much the same. So some of the experiments I can do here is there is this connection which runs up to a tab on the volume control. I could disconnect this completely and just see what happens. I'm really at the let's just see what happens point. I was thinking back to when I was a kid. When I was, say, 12, 13, 14, I was fooling around with these kinds of things. I didn't have this radio yet. I didn't get this radio until I was 15 or 16. I think I'd have my driver's license when I got this radio. And how, what the environment was like back then for someone doing this kind of stuff, even a kid or an adult for that matter. No parts, except those you would scrounge from other stuff. No information at all. No schematic, no nothing. No access to it. I lived in a small town, far from Toronto. Toronto had the library that had this kind of information in it. Could have been in other big city libraries. I don't know. I was in a small town. So I spent years and years fiddling around with these things with no information. And I think that's part of why I am the way I am today. Where I don't necessarily avail myself of everything that's there to be had on the internet. Now, are you playing around with ChatGPT? You should be, because wow, that's a heck of a thing. I haven't yet tried to really use ChatGPT to help out in my shop here, but I'll probably get around to that at some point. But in any case, thank you, Mr. Bruce. Are you Bruce? Bruce, you sent me an email, and you said, hey, take a look at this other Pi thing. It's called the Pi Black Box. Kind of a terrible name for a record player. I think it's basically a record player. And it too has a tone control arrangement in it, not like this. A more straightforward tone control. But even that's not straightforward. They actually have a gained volume control. They have a primary volume control. And then a secondary volume control that's tied into what looks like a treble cut circuit. So when you turn the volume control, you're actually turning two pots and causing not only a drop in the volume, but a variation in the tone. And of course, why is that? Well, because our ears don't hear the same at different volume levels. at low volume, our ears tend to focus in on the voice range. So we give up some highs and we give up some lows, but we continue to hang on to the voice range because we're trying to hear people talk. That's what's really important. So when you turn the volume down on a radio, or you listen to a radio very quietly, you don't hear as much bass or treble as you would if the whole thing were turned up, because this is going on. And so radio makers figured this out early on somehow, and they began to incorporate loudness controls. Now, you've probably seen that term, maybe you understand all this. But loudness is an attempt to compensate. So as you turn down the volume, the radio automatically begins to boost the treble and the bass. It tries to boost both, treble and bass, not just bass, but both of them. So you can still hear in high fidelity at low volume. Although that's a trick on that black box, I'm pretty sure it's what it was doing. As you turn the volume down, you were, without knowing it, turning the bass up. Well, you can't turn the bass up. You can't turn the treble up and the bass up. Most you can do with passive circuits is cut them back. So what you would be doing is you turn the volume down, you'd be cutting back the treble. This is the treble side here. You'd be cutting back the treble. And so the relativity between the bass and the treble would change. And ultimately you'd settle on a volume which you like. It would have more bass in it than it had treble when the whole thing was higher. Now what that says to me is that the PYE engineers were pretty into this stuff. They were really into it. Now the use of the feedback in a lot of these radios is feedback or amplifiers. It's just used to control harmonic distortion and reduce it. But it can have tone qualities if the signal coming back from the speaker is, I don't want to say delayed, phase shifted a little bit. The phase shift can be used by mixing it back in with the original signal. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong about this. And you can achieve an actual boost in the bass or the treble. Now, if you notice, the tone control here is not a vernier, it's not a potentiometer, it's a snap switch. Now that says something too about the thinking and the approach they were taking. I think most people, like me, would like a nice smooth tone control and just go up and down. But here you had these different positions to pick from. What that tells me is that in any given position, the combination of various things being used to alter the tone and alter the feedback is quite different. Clever engineers, way over my head. I think that's really the situation here. So I'm not feeling too good about getting this sorted out, as much as, it's just parts and there's a schematic, and surely to goodness sooner or later you can figure it out. But sooner or later has been, how many hours have I done on this all told? many hours. So I'm thinking a couple of different lines at once here. One is do some more experimenting, maybe I'll be lucky and something will happen. Abandon the tone control technique being used here and do something else. That comes with the risk of mucking up the feedback system such that we don't get the benefit of the feedback, which is the reduction of the harmonic distortion, or blow the tone situation out of the water and the thing turns into sounds like a little tin can. Certainly didn't seem to be going that way. Okay, so I talked enough, got an idea now of what's going on in my head, sort of. Do you? Does anybody know what's going on in my head? And we're going to start with some listening and some experimenting here and there, poking around a little bit. And then I'm going to make the decision whether I should really try to just retonify this radio and get on to making it. This is a great receiver. Forget the tone for a minute. This is a very, very good receiver. I'd like to get it receiving. Coffee time. Okay, just before we get going, let's just take a look at the schematic here, because, even after literally hours of looking at this, things start becoming clear. It can take a long time for me to catch up with things. So if we look at the feedback, this blue line here, it's hard to see, and it comes into the bottom of the volume control right there. Well, there's two more feedback lines. You can see the connections here. There's one that comes down here, goes through this switch, gets mixed up with this capacitor, resistor, capacitor. Where does it go from there? It comes out, and the feedback is shoved into this tap. Well, there's another one. Here's another extension of the feedback wire. Comes down here, comes along in here, and where does it go? It goes up into the slider part of the volume control. So in a sense, what they're doing here is they're injecting feedback into 3 different places. And based on the setting of these switches, different amounts of feedback are being pumped, probably in different phase angles, into these different parts of the volume control. So basically, they looked at what can we do with feedback into here, what can we do with feedback into here, what can we do with feedback into here, and this is what they can do. All this. Should I feel bad about myself for not being able to understand what they're doing in detail? I don't know. You know what? I'm not paid an engineer's rate, so no, I shouldn't be worried about it. Okay, let's play this radio now. I got an antenna hooked up, the antenna switched on. I have the feedback wire. This is about to pop off here. Feedback wire. I've put a clip lead on it, but you see the feedback wire is going nowhere. So there's, as I believe, I'm already wound up. As I believe, there's no feedback operating in the volume control or anywhere. So we need to pick something up here. How are we going to be able to? It's a little weak to judge on. Okay, first thing I would judge is you can't turn the volume down. There's a couple other ideas going through my head here while I'm doing this. Let's see if we can find another station. So I think it's in dire need of alignment. Let's go down a band. I don't know which band I'm on. Okay, buddy. Let's go up a band. Very quiet at the top. Okay, we'll try one more. This is the top band. Well, what is the frequency for the top band, Jim? The frequency is it listed somewhere quickly? I'll write it. I think it's 21 megahertz. I think it's up there. Down one. This is what I love about this radio. This is how fast you can rip through all the short wave bands. You can just remember which switch to throw. Okay, so a little light. This is the one that's lit here. Third band down. Fourth band. Where'd that station go? This time it's louder up at the higher end. Nothing.
me pareció un poco absurdo. Yo siempre decía, sentarte en un banco y la persona predicar.
That'll do.
Puedes preguntarte si la mayor que tienes hablar sobre la
Okay,
lección.
starting with the volume control. What does it do?
Sus propias lecciones apropiadas para su edad.
It should be 0.
Pero cuando decides tener una iglesia en casa, toda esta responsabilidad, mantener la atención de los niños comprometida, enseñar a hacer que sea interesante,
Wish I could turn it down.
ustedes y su cónyuge. No puedes simplemente descansar y pasar la responsabilidad a otra persona. Supongo que es más fácil si solo eres tú, pero si tienes una familia puede ser muy difícil. Bueno, no me apresuraría a asumir que es más fácil si estás solo. Cierto, no es responsable de enseñarle a otra persona, pero parte de lo que esperamos como experiencia de adoración es adorar en presencia de otros creyentes. Si no tienes a nadie más con quien adorar, puedes sentirte emocionalmente que falta algo. ¿Qué es la adoración? Si todo lo que estás haciendo es sentarte en la mesa de tu cocina leyendo la Biblia. Supongo que todos hemos llegado a felicidad de estos sentimientos este año. Los compañeros de adoración realmente donde él está, ¿verdad? No. No sabemos si antes del tabernáculo del desierto los verdaderos creyentes de Yahuwah alguna vez tuvieron un edificio dedicado exclusivamente.
Okay, so what I deduce from that is getting rid of the feedback. You know what? How good is a shortwave station going to sound anyway? Getting rid of the feedback, no loss of volume or quality, and hooking it up, we get back to those oscillations. So if I leave it off for now, I can't zero the volume. So why can't I zero the volume? I believe it's because of they haven't got like a 0 point at the bottom of the volume control. Instead they have a resistor connected part way up. And I've disconnected the feedback line, which ultimately is reaching the bottom of the volume control. I need to bottom out the volume control properly. So where they've got this resistor on the tap, I could move this resistor connection to the bottom and remove the input, the feedback input from the bottom. That would further disconnect the actions of this, which may still be doing something. So the next step is simply be, well, the next step could be simply cut that wire right at the bottom here. Now, something doesn't look right at all here. But I'm not going to worry about it. No, don't do that, Chip. Don't start trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Figure out what you're going to do with it. Never mind what's wrong with it. So the input, the signal input on this volume control has to be the other. So there's a resistor here on the grounded side at 220K on the grounded side. And that does not appear on the schematic, by the way. What's going on there? Here we go. I'm going to stop for a minute because my plans are being shot asunder already. Okay, here's my plan. Yeah, I got a plan here. So I'm going to take this tab connection up on the top of the volume control. I'm going to disconnect it. And I'm going to make that the bottom of the volume control. So it's going to go from here down to the bottom here. I'm going to disconnect this blue wire, which is the feedback wire. But this tab is also getting feedback out of something going on down here. So I'm just going to move it down. We'll see what happens. The first step is just to cut it off, just to cut this off. Now there's a resistor there going in the back. I'm just going to cut the red wire as step one. See what happens. Maybe in the end that'll fix everything and I'll be a happy camper. Okay, let's turn the radio back on here. Warm up. Yeah, I woke up this morning, snow on the ground, just a thin layer of snow, but Snow's all gone already. It's melted away.
Pero es una pregunta justa. La respuesta creo se encuentra en el sermón de la montaña. Vayamos a...
Let me just turn it down that way. Just cut the speaker off for a moment. Okay, and so feedback tab, cut it away. Here we go. I don't want to ground it. Shouldn't we listen to this? Yes. Yes, we should listen to it. Okay. Sorry, it's going to be a little loud. I can cut the microphones back in here a little bit. I've already got them back a little bit. Here we go.
Porque si amáis a los que os aman, ¿qué recompensa tendréis? ¿No hacen lo mismo los recaudadores de impuestos? Y si saludáis solamente a vuestros hermanos, ¿qué hacéis más que los demás? Ni siquiera los recaudadores de impuestos lo hacen. Sed pues vosotros perfectos como vuestro Padre que está en los cielos. Perfecto. Mateos 5, 43, 48.
Aquí Cristo vincula la perfección con hacer el bien a los demás, amigos y enemigos por igual.
¿No crees que esto sugiere que Yahuwah aprueba el pecado? Para nada.
Así es como nosotros, los pecadores, pensamos.
Razonamos, mostraré favor a mis amigos, ayudaré a los que me gustan,
Aceptaré a aquellos
cuya teología esté de acuerdo con la mía.
Pero piénsalo, si Yahuwah retuviera sus condiciones de los pecadores, no tendría a nadie para bendecir.
Supongo que...
Okay, that was step one. So to me what happened was the loudness disappeared. So at a low volume, there's very little bass. So still sounds okay, but it's losing its nice warm sound that it had. The sound of this radio was very attractive, or was anyway. So I'm going to take this now. I'm going to connect it down here at the bottom of the volume control. I'm going to remove something here. So there's a capacitor going to ground. And what's that 22? Yeah, so that's the resistor. Here I go, chasing all around. I don't think there should be a resistor there. Yeah, I figured out yesterday the capacitor was missing from there, but I didn't really consider there was a resistor there. Is that correct? Because something went wrong here. R9, 22K. So that would be red, orange. This is red, yellow here. Red, yellow. So look at the list for 22. There, R12. Is it 220? R10. R10 is the one. R10 is right there. So R10 is supposed to be... Ooh, connected to the top. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, what is going on? Yeah, that's what you get after 40 hours of work. What's going on? Okay, let's continue with the try it and see what happens. So I want to change the input at the bottom of the volume control from feedback, which I've basically done by cutting this wire off. So this blue wire now is the bottom of the volume control. It comes into here. Who knows what goes on from there. This used to go to the tab. I'm going to stick this here. Goodness knows what's going to happen. Let's find out. Let's find out. Boy, this is really, this is how I used to do things when I was a kid. Well, hook that wire there and see what happens. So, sometimes the results aren't all that good. Okay, here we go. Minimum volume.
El punto es, no juzgues. Sí, eso es nuestro lugar. No es nuestro trabajo. El trabajo de Espíritu Santo es convencer. No es nuestro. Los cristianos tenemos el privilegio otorgado por Yahuwah de seguir al Cordero donde quiera que Él nos guíe. Pero con demasiada frecuencia olvidamos que todos comenzamos en diferentes puntos.
Por lo que la forma en que yo soy guiado puede ser muy diferente de la forma en que ustedes son guiados.
Pero nuestro destino es el mismo. Creo que hay otro privilegio otorgado por Yahuwah que la libertad de seguir.
Okay, that's really absolutely not at all what I expected. Nothing happened whatsoever. Nothing happened whatsoever. what I'm trying to do here is, this is the audio output coming out of the radio here after being detected. Oh. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry, just getting the wires mixed up here. So there's the detector diode right there. Yeah. So audio's coming down here. Instead of having to go down and do all this funny runaround down here, I'm just trying to get it to go straight over to the top of the volume control and go in. And I thought I kind of pulled that off by doing this, but no, that's not what happened. I have to do something more direct. And I also have to remove whatever is connected to the top of the volume control, the input side, which is right here. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's a clock alarm I cannot control. Check out this clock. The problem with this clock is you can't read it unless you put a piece of paper behind it. No. Yeah, is it 9:43 in here? Yes, it is. It's one of these clocks, only has 2 buttons. Good luck figuring out how it all works. Okay, that's over. Yeah. Nothing special about 9:43. Wow. Love all the distractions. Still have a resistor connected to the tab up here, but the resistor just goes to ground. The audio input is coming here, but I think it's also on the, not on that wire. Okay, I'm going to stop and sort this out because it's unsorted. Okay, so the point where the IF signal comes out and is detected is happening right up in here. The detection is taking place in one of these tubes. Which one of these 2 tubes? I don't know which one offhand. But this is the second IF here. This is the 470K resistor right here. And there's a capacitor. You can barely see it right behind it. So the audio signal is coming on this cable. That's handy. You can see where this cable's going. It's going... Ooh, it's disconnected. No, I must have changed cables here. What? So yesterday I found this wire disconnected, but I ran this back to the phono. Back to the... Oh, they're crossing here. Yeah, that's a phono. Okay, so these are... There we are. Okay, so here it is. Here it is. This is the audio. I gotta just take this, skip it right around, stick it in that volume control. We should listen to this first. We should listen to the audio. What does it sound like? I've only got a lousy way of doing that. So it involves a small speaker. I believe that's where the audio is. So what we're really looking at is this resistor here right next to my finger. You can't see it, but it says R7 up there. And then there's the capacitor right there, and that's the little parts up here. And then this red wire I've marked here, this is actually a shielded cable, which they have not indicated on the diagram. It comes all the way around, and in. So I could take the far end of this cable. It still has this connected to it, which is good, because this is probably the filter for the RF right in here. Take this audio line from out of here and stick it right onto the top of the volume control, the input side of the volume control. Meanwhile, the output the grounded side is still kind of connected into this stuff. Well, you know, I decided I cannot think this thing out. So experimenting is the only way forward, and just trying to come up with things to try that won't, you know, cause smoke and fire and other, you know, more serious problems. So I could grab the audio from down here and just, I can use a clip lead. Maybe I can leave it connected. Just clip lead right from there. And this is the input side. Has a capacitor going to ground, has a resistor carrying a signal, I believe. I don't know. It doesn't add up with the schematic anymore, does it? I'm getting too confused. Too much is happening. So let me just, oh heavens, this just popped right off. I just take it all apart. Thought I had that soldered. Well, I'm sure the connection was good enough. Okay, so we would take the audio off of there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the audio cable from here. I'm going to swing it around, stick it up here somewhere. Goodness knows what's going to happen. We will know. I probably wouldn't have made a very good radio design engineer if what I said to everybody all the time was, I don't know, cut some wires and hook them up differently and see what you get. But that's kind of what's happened here. So here's the audio coming from the radio, and I've jammed it into the top of the volume control. The bottom is hanging wide open at this point. Okay, you know what? I'm not quite ready yet. What do we do with the bottom of the volume control? Normally the bottom of a volume control would be connected to ground, B minus or something like that. I better study the schematic before I make a move there. Now, something I don't think I've discussed about this radio. Different radios do this differently. What I'm talking about is the AVC voltage and how they develop it. So a lot of the detector tubes have two diodes in them. In some radios, those diodes are just connected together to make one diode, or one of them is even just forgotten about. And they just use one diode. They rectify the output coming from the IF. And once they rectify it, then the audio is available. They just clean out the RF and they can send the audio on its way. Better radios, and that also develops, what I failed to say, develops the AVC in the same place. The AVC DC voltage in the same place that the audio is coming out. You have to separate them away a little bit with capacitors and stuff. Fire the DC up into the front of the radio to control the tubes up here through automatic volume control. But other radio, but the two things are together on one diode. In this radio, they have two diodes, and they've separated the AVC system. So the AVC system's running on this diode, I think. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not going to examine this too carefully to figure it out. It's this wire drawn right through the midst of all this stuff. What's it doing coming down in here? They're doing, oh my gosh, there's something going on with the AVC in here too. Yeah. So I'll get to my point. My point's probably not valid, but anyway, here it comes. This radio's been motorboating. Okay, motorboating is usually caused by the AVC voltage being involved in some way. So the output of the IF, comes out strong. AVC builds up. It's a little delayed by a capacitor charging. So it comes along later. AVC quiets down the radio, and then it comes back up again and up again. And there you got the motorboating. So AVC is involved in this in some way, and I just kind of ignored that, kind of put my hands over my ears and went, yeah, and ignored that. But obviously the motorboating thing has something to do with AVC. So here we see the AVC is actually kind of snuck into here. Yeah. I'm going to continue making a mess of this. That's my plan. Let's just keep messing this thing up here. So now I have the audio on here, audio into the top. I have this resistor moved away. What it was doing there, I don't know. It doesn't appear on the schematic. My head is coming apart. We got enough here done? No, because the bottom of the volume control is just this open wire. I got to figure out what to do with it. So bottom of the volume control used to go to the AVC. There could be some capacitor to the B minus in here somewhere. I don't see one, but goodness knows where it might be. But I think I got to get the bottom of this volume control. See, actually, kind of like the bottom is kind of faked by the tab connection on the back. Well, I just moved this resistor to the bottom off the tab. Move the resistor to the bottom off the tab. Okay, let's take it off. Resistor's hidden around behind there. Is this in any way the right thing to do? Who knows? I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, you know, if you have to, you can always put another 40 hours into this thing and sort this out properly. I got so many wires hanging here, I don't know what to do with them all. This one's supposed to go down here. Maybe I can just get it under the clip. No, it isn't. So I'm feeding the wait a minute. This is the top. This is the top, Jim. The bottom's here. The bottom's here. Yeah, come on. This is a mess. Now this is we're dealing with a weak audio signal at this point in the radio. So all this, you know, ugly stuff I'm doing easily open the door to hums and buzzes and all kinds of weird stuff. So if I encounter that, I'm just going to assume that I can filter it away at some point. This is just not, I don't think that's just not quite good enough there. Just clamp it on there. Okay. Okay, attempt number, I don't know what. Some attempt. Give it a number. Now, is there a chance I'm doing something really seriously bad to this radio? I don't think so. I think we're just fooling around with audio stuff. Let's see what happens.
You can find that word throughout Genesis 1. In our modern Bibles, it's translated as, "Let there be light," and "there was light." But in the original Hebrew, it was simply, "Light be, light was."
It's perfectly fitting that the self-existent one who was and is to come would take for his name all the verbs of being. And what this teaches us is, in combination with your need, becomes a powerful promise that you can claim. You're in danger and need protection, call on his name.
That's phono.
Remember that his name plus your need equals a powerful promise to claim by faith.
That's true, what it means to call upon the name of the Lord, to call upon Yahweh. So, fear.
Yahweh.
We generally tend to view fear as a bad thing.
This radio is running with 80 volts.
It lets you know when to be cautious.
Yes, you're right. Now, when I was in university, I knew a man that worked as a guard in a maximum security prison, as we call it.
Apparently, there was a prisoner there that had no sense.
Why can I not zero out the volume?
At first glance, you might think, how did that happen?
Because I have this resistor in the circuit. No, I don't have it. I have this resistor in the circuit.
You might even get a life-threatening injury.
So what if I ground out the bottom of the volume control instead of going through this resistor? Is a 22K resistor, a 1.3 mega ohm volume control, 22K. So I think that's what's happening. I only turn it down so far because this resistor is sitting there. So if I I could put a capacitor from here to ground easy enough. A fairly big one. Like this guy. Let's try a fairly big one. Goodness knows I have no clue what I'm doing. So we want to go to ground. So we're going to come on here. And we're going to go to ground over here. Just because that's easy. Now I think this is going to make the volume control go 0 when I set it to 0. Often it doesn't matter what I think though. Never share your opinion. Always share the information you base your opinion on.
I'd really like to enlarge on that because fear.
Much better.
Just hold on a second.
Okay, I have to do a volume check here. I'm going to turn this up quite loud. I'm going to cut my microphones back. Close my blast door. We're still operating only with 80 volts. Turn this guy way up and see what kind of distortion comes. So I'm going to cut back the microphone volume here.
Into English as fear comes from the Greek word dia. Quoting strong and the dictionary defined as timidity. The word denotes cowardice, unmanliness,
Okay.
and timidity. So Paul's right.
This is pretty much a satisfactory arrangement.
Spirit of cowardice, unmanliness, and
We're not quite
timidity.
getting down to 0
So I take it
volume.
that's not the word you're talking about.
Does it really matter? Does it really matter to me? Oh, we need to run this with full voltage.
Expanded dictionary has to say. Just have a look at it. Right down the bottom of the page there. Yore means to be afraid, stand in awe, fear. Basically this verb.
Like when I turn the volume down, the remaining sound is muffled, as if there's a little extra bass being injected at it. That's a kind of a loudness thing right there.
Simple fear, but reverent. Whereby an individual recognizes the power of his
No motorboating,
individual being and renders him proper.
lots of volume.
In this sense, the word may imply submission to a proper.
Probably a lot of volume because the feedback was probably cutting it. Hey, what if I reconnect the feedback stuff now?
Absolutely. With no direct
What if I just begin
meaning
hooking it back
to
up?
be afraid. It's very interesting indeed, though.
Well, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Assuming that's the place for it.
Verses 19 to 21. Now listen for the
No,
words
no
here
change.
as you read it. Okay, so
Here's a wire. Hook it up there.
So shall they fear the name of Jahweh from the west, and his glory from the
Amen.
rising of the sun. Enemy comes in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh will lift up a standard against him.
No difference.
The Redeemer
There's some more wires I could clip it on.
Zion, and to those
They were
who
feeding
serve
feedback
him
into all kinds of
and
places. They were feeding it even into the tab up here.
As for me, says Yahweh,
Okay, let's try it.
is
Let's
my
try it.
covenant wisdom, my spirit who is upon you, and my word
Uncontrolled.
from your mouth shall not depart from your mouth, nor from the mouth of your descendants, nor from the mouth of your descendants.
Okay, let's put it on.
Fear has two purposes, and both have benefits.
The first is to reveal what's in the heart.
The second is to produce and grow
Oh, I love that sound.
Here at WLC, we talk about the end of the world quite a bit.
Still there.
So that's often our focus. In focusing on that, what we discuss a lot is the prophecies, especially of Daniel.
Oh, did you hear that?
End of the world. 7.5.
I think the slider's sliding past the tab point in the volume control, and the feedback is becoming very aggressive at that point. And so it's knocking out the sound and eventually causing the
And when you think about this, what's your gut level?
causing that.
Well, the most thing that I would feel is fear. You don't want to think about it. Just want to think from it.
And that is the natural reaction to feeling fear.
Too much feedback going in. And another place they sent feedback was right into the actual volume control right into this volume control slider through a little capacitor. Look, I got a little capacitor. Oops. My little capacitor with a handy little resistor hooked up to it. Let's try it. Okay, so first into the tab through this little.
Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near. In the valley of decision.
This applies now. Today,
Those who are God's, a larger group of those who are Satan, and a really huge assembly of those.
My best move is to try to make the volume go 0 when it's turned down like it is now. And leave it like this. This is not bad. If I can just get the volume to go down to 0. Now what would be stopping that? So I've connected this. I've connected this. Well, what if I get rid of that resistor? Okay, so we're going to have this. It causes wild volume effects here.
The last plagues will be poured out on those who joined with Satan in his rebellion.
still making their decision.
So I think this is grounding out the treble nicely, but it's not grounding out the bass. It's not big enough. That's a 104. If I put something much bigger in there, okay, let me get my biggest capacitor here. I've got, where are they? Here's a big one here. This is 1 microfarad. Oh, it's in a bank. There's some big ones.
You just stop acting, don't you? Exactly, and of course
That's got it.
hidden heart. In someone who wants to continue, want to give up that cherished sin, he doesn't want to surrender.
I like it. I like that. Okay, I'm going to stop at this point and just think about where I've got to and what I'm going to do next. Okay, I didn't even make it out of my shop yet. I think what I want to try is do a solid connection to the chassis. Get rid of that capacitor. Volume's right down. I thought this one a lot quieter.
This is what fear does to the unsanctified heart. The revelation of that fear is to lead us in repentance to...
Ooh, I didn't like the big.
When you're
Didn't like the pop.
losing your job because of your stamp.
That's what it did. That's what it's. Oh yeah, that's right. I had a big capacitor in there. That's right. What am I thinking?
Compromise rather than stand firm for Yahweh.
I think it's my choice. If I want to put it in solid ground.
Oh, that out ourselves.
I like it.
Let's take a short break. And
Yes, a short break. That's a good idea. Let's take a short break. And then I'm going to make permanent what I've done here. Permanent? Well, as permanent as anything is. Okay, I think we're ready for a test here. I'm going to put the radio down in a more normal position. I've left a capacitor and a wire soldered there. I haven't cut them out because I've learned to delay everything as much as you can, because you never really know what's going to happen. Now let me put on the antenna here. Okay, there we go. Volume is turned down. Get used to where everything is. This is the band switch here. This is the tone switch. The set is turned off now. And I don't have a speaker connected. Okay, hold on. Hold on, what did I went and put the speaker wire away. Duh. Not thinking. A little overzealous in my shop cleanup here. Okay, I forgot the speaker. Well, we can get at it from the back. From the back here. Think that's gonna work? I don't think so. Don't think I've got plugs that'll fit in there exactly. Let me give it a try and see what happens here. No, these won't fit. Okay, well, I'm going to clip it back underneath. That's what I'll do. Okay, I think I still want to lay the radio down. Take this off, it's in the way. Okay, we're going to guess those speakers hung on. Now the antenna back on. Where'd you go, antenna? Lost in the wires here. Okay, we are ready. We'll start with the AM band. What do we get out of this radio? Bits and pieces I cut out of it. Dim bulbs first. Here we go. Okay, dim bulb behavior is okay. Okay, it's a bit of a hair trigger volume control, but that's nothing to complain about. Okay, does the tone control do anything? No. We're at 80 volts and this radio is operating. Must be a high B plus radio. Well, let's leave it at 80. See what we get. This is the broadcast band. Okay, not disappointing. Broadcast band. Let's go to the next one. There's lots more to be done about the broadcast band. This has gotten so loose here. Oh. One screw missing. These are not the original knobs here. So we're still on broadcast band. Let me get the cabinet here. So I can see what the bands are. 49, 41, 31, 19, 16, and 13. So the highest frequency is 21 megahertz. Okay, if I forget, I got it right here. Oh. First band to be the 49-meter band. Shouldn't be anything there. It's the wrong time to do it. 7 megahertz, we might hear some stuff here. No. Next one. 9. Now we should hear something here. Turn the volume up a little bit.
The ends of the earth. So he's waiting for the abyss. We're now in him, in relationship with Christ, and we're waiting on the fullness of this. So this is powerful. Now, the Lord said to my Lord, Acts 2, Peter is
a little on the muffled side.
Psalm 110 and 1. But he said, the Lord said to my Lord,
now let's give it the full voltage here. It's still running with 79 volts. Wow. Brighter lights.
Please forgive this phrasing, but this is one of the most pregnant Bible until this has got so much in it.
That's probably 9330. Okay. Next band. Might get something here. Next band. What's that? That's an unusual thing. So the noise coming way up, I think that suggests that the radio's alignment is poor. It should be, that noise should be consistent. This is a band spread radio. I'm actually not moving much frequency-wise. Okay, we'll go up another one. Where are we now? I will consult the glass. 17 megahertz. Well, we might hear something here. Turn the volume way up. Oh, it's still there. Okay, nobody home on this band. Top band, 21. Nothing. Okay, we want to go back to the, was it here?
2 and 1. Don't anybody?
I love about this radio is you can zoom around bands up and down really quick. So now we're going to experiment with the ground here on my antenna. So first we're going to ground the chassis, and then I'm going to try the ground connection on the back of the radio.
Good things on our side now in this interim journey, this interim time. And we have God's people, fellow believers on our side.
I wish this wasn't a religious broadcast we're listening to, but it is what it is.
So we need to, if you're a new believer, you need to go and realize.
Okay, so what happens if we ground this out?
I did not use that. I've got all kinds of advantages.
So it got weaker, doesn't mean it got worse though.
In order to have success in this journey. I've got a few strategies I thought.
Here's the actual ground connection
So,
here.
and as I said, maybe when we finish going through this, you can give me some of your thoughts and ideas. But strategy number 1, I thought new believers do have to realize.
Doesn't seem to make much difference.
Somehow you have to let go of the past.
There we are. It's wonderful. I'm really happy. Very, very happy.
That you would incline.
Very good. There's a slight hum in the radio. Probably not too much to worry about. Okay. Wow. That was an ugly, ugly journey to get to here. But I got here. That's great. I feel a little sad that I kind of disabled a feature of this radio, which is that fantastic tone control. So, what's next? Proper alignment on this radio. We'll tune it right up. And then this is a wonderful, wonderful radio. So, plenty ugly, but a wonderful operating radio. Great. Well, thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully it's all uphill. Uphill from here? Downhill? I don't know. Which way? Hopefully the ground is level from here on in. And we'll have this radio really working well. Great. See ya.